I'm Ashley,
And I'm Jasmin.
and you're tuned into Ham Radio Stranger Things podcast.
It's a ham radio.
The Cadillac of ham radios.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Ham Radio as Stranger Things podcast. We've got a great episode for you today as usual, but first, we have a little housekeeping to take care of, and I'm going to turn it over to Jasmin to let you know where you can find us on social media and where you can listen to the podcast.
Thanks, Ashley. You can find us on Instagram at Ham Radio Media, all one word, on Twitter at HamThrough, on YouTube at Ham Radio Media, or using our handle HamRadio1983. We also have a Discord you can join, which is linked in the description of this episode. If you have a fan theory or question you want to share, you can email us at hamradiomedia@gmail.com. Ashley also has a fanfic on AO3 entitled Stranger Things College, which is also linked in the description. The podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and much more. If you like the show, please consider leaving us a rating or review. We have a lot of totally tubular stuff coming up, so be sure to follow us on social media to keep up with the podcast and all of our new content.
In this episode, and any hereafter in which we discuss behind-the-scenes content, we will only be discussing the content that the official Stranger Things social media accounts and/or Raw Stuffer post. We will not be talking on our podcast of any set pics, leaks, etc. taken by the paparazzi. We understand that not everyone likes spoilers or leaks, including ourselves, so we will not be including anything unofficial in our discussion. Thank you for your understanding. All right. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Ham Radio podcast, a Stranger Things podcast, of course. And today we're going to do our second filming update episode. And Jasmin and I, what we realized is because it seems like they are going to be feeding us, on a weekly basis, it seems like. We've kind of decided to, instead of doing like a full-blown bonus episode about filming, we're gonna instead eventually start doing little sound bites, like little 10, maybe 15 minute little rundowns of filming, like what behind the scenes content Raw Stuffer or the Stranger Things accounts through the broadcast channel on Instagram have shared. We'll just giving you guys a rundown for that week, so that we're not having to cram all of these little goodies into like a bonus episode like each month. Of course, for all filming updates on Stranger Things, unless you, other than hearing from straight from the horse's mouth, you can of course follow us and we'll keep you up to date on that good stuff. But if for whatever reason you are not on social media, this is what those little sound bites are for, to inform you of the latest behind the scenes filming dumps and info and all that good stuff. So that being said, we are going to dive right into our second filming update episode. But first, we have some couple of things from some listeners. First is a question from a listener, Kelsey. Kelsey wants to know, when do you think we'll get the first teaser for Stranger Things Season 5? Jasmin, you want to go first and answer Kelsey's question?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you remember, but by the time, so I watched Stranger Things for the first time during the pandemic, so like by the time my friend and I finished watching 3, the teaser for season 4 was already out. So I don't really, I don't have much memory or about when when we would get teasers for the past seasons. So do you remember how far out from, like, back in seasons 2 and 3, or even 4, like how far out from when it was supposed to be released we got the teaser? Because I feel like that would be a good indicator of of when we might get it, but I don't have any. I wasn't a fan back that far. So do you remember how far out it was from the trailer and then from the premiere?
Well, it's funny that you say that, Jasmine, because I actually didn't watch any of the trailers or teasers for Stranger Things until season 4. I don't know if it's because I wasn't like really into that kind of stuff back then, or because I was just so new to the show and all that good stuff. And I mean, really, by the time I actually got into Stranger Things, like a few months later came season 3. So I don't have firsthand experience with that. It isn't coming out, in real time. But I did remember reading, and this is, I think, on the Wikipedia page for Stranger Things, that their first teaser, like, of it was a little clip or something of the rats running into the abandoned warehouse or the abandoned steel the abandoned mill or whatever it was, Brimborn
Yeah, I think it's a steel
Steelworks.
mill or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like in March 2018. But that's off the top of my head, that's what all I can recall. But of course, I mean, we know like with marketing, they like to do different things each season. So I don't really think there is a true timetable that we could really go on from seasons past because with season 2, I do know that with season 2, they released a little 30-second teaser during the Super Bowl, but that ain't happening in this case. I would be very surprised if that does because the Super Bowl was like in 2 weeks, I believe. I don't watch the NFL or the Super Bowl, but I know it's around February, something like that. But if I had to take my best guess for in terms of just a teaser trailer, not like a full trailer, just like teaser. I mean, maybe to Dumb, maybe, or maybe Stranger Things Day, maybe. Because I don't see season 5 coming out before 2025. But in terms of like, them just being kind and dumping out like, a little clip, something kind of like a sneak peek, like they did with season 4, like a little literally a 10-second, flash through of little tiny bits of clips of season 5. That probably could come earlier, like maybe this summer. I don't know, but I don't think it'll be anytime soon because I mean that stuff takes time for them to go through that. So
Yeah, I don't think they've filmed enough. I mean, they've only done what, like 10 days of filming with the last update we got. They
yeah,
finished
yeah,
10 days. So they have definitely haven't filmed enough yet to be able to do that because for a teaser, they kind of got like to pick the parts they want to show, So, and I'm expecting, I mean, something probably similar to what they did for season 4, but on a more accelerated timeline. So yeah, I'd say probably the fall, I want to say, or maybe we'll get like a little teaser in the summer and then maybe a trailer in the fall. And then, I think it also depends on the release date, like we know it took them a full year to film the last season. And I know it took obviously less time to film seasons 1 and 2 and it took kind of an in-between amount of time to film season 3. So I think it also depends on when the release date's going to be. And but I think based on what we do know, I think maybe teaser this summer, trailer in the fall. And I think I would lean towards Stranger Things Day rather than Tadam because Tadam has let me down so many times. I have no faith in Tadam anymore. I will not be staking my claim with that. But I think, I could definitely see Stranger Things Day. And if they're going to do it, it's going to be at the end of the day or it's going to be midnight. It's going to be like, you think it's done and then they're going to do it. I just have a
yeah,
feeling that that's what they're going to do because like, that's
exactly.
what they did for the first episode where everybody was like, that's it. And they're like, surprise. So they're
Yeah,
definitely going to
yeah,
be like, oh, you thought you'd seen The Last of Us. Like, they're definitely, if they're going to do it, I think that's the way they would do it. Because if you
yeah,
come out of the gate with that, or even by like noontime, then everything after that is downhill. Like nobody cares if there's been a trailer because they're too busy dissecting the trailer and talking to all their friends
yeah,
and being like, "Did you see this? What do you think this means?" So I definitely think it's going to be
exactly.
like last minute midnight drop for Stranger Things Day. And I feel like if they were going to do something on a merchandising front, they'd probably, if they had enough stuff, just knowing how marketing and merchandising works, they'd probably want to have something out before Christmas, right? Because they'd want to
Mm-hmm.
be able to, put things into production or, kind of not to spoil things, but, if they were gonna do something around, you know what I mean? Like they'd want to have at least something for people to work with or kind of tease what they might be doing. So I think also from a marketing standpoint, they'd also want to get that out. So yeah, I think that, I think summer and then fall probably is, with what we now know, probably the most likely.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of where I see it as well. So we also would like to give a shout out to Todd, aka the Todd Father, who was a guest on the Into the Upside Down podcast. Todd left us a comment on Spotify on our first filming episode. Todd says, "Great episode as always. Hoping to talk Stranger Things with y'all soon." Well, Todd, if you're listening to this, reach out to us on Instagram or email us and let us know when you're available. We'd love to have you come on and talk some Stranger Things. And I believe, because I listened to the episode that he was on with them, and he also told us this, but I believe Todd was actually an extra on season 3 of Stranger Things, I think he said. So,
I
maybe,
think that's right. Yeah, that sounds
yeah,
right.
yeah. So maybe we can get him on here and ask him some filming questions. I think it'd be great. So Todd, yeah, if you're listening, hit us up. Let us know. We'd love to have you. At the time of this recording, they have just finished their third week of filming for season 5. And week 2 was actually, there was quite a bit in week 2, but actually week 3, there wasn't that much. Ross Duffer or the Stranger Things broadcast channel posted. Like, I think the biggest things that they did in week 3 were the video quick Cara Buono, and then they dumped some stuff on Friday at the school, and that was pretty much it. And but for week 2, there was quite a bit, and there was from not only from the official sources but also from the unofficial sources as well, that just took the internet by storm. And we're not going to talk about that, even though by now it's already implanted into my brain. It is what it is, and it caused me to have to not unfollow some accounts but mute, so I didn't see it, and all that good stuff. So Jasmin, do you want to start us off with what happened on Wednesday the 17th?
For sure. Like the week 2 updates we got were pretty substantial. So on Wednesday, January 17th, we got a short video shared to the broadcast channel of on a table, and there's a book called the High Voltage Handbook. And then we see other books that look to be, sort of technical manuals. We see, Coke cans and snacks. So this appears to be some kind of like workstation. And some of the big questions that came out of this video were, what are they building? Some people were theorizing it could be a generator or something to help stop Vecna. Other fans have commented that they're wondering if Mr. Clark could be involved, because we didn't see him in season 4, but they did have the actor who plays him do promo for one of the pop-ups. So there seems to be an indication that, maybe they were going to include him and they ran out of time. So, could this be the season where not only does, Karen and the other parents find out, but could Mr. Clark find out what's really going on, And I kind of lean towards something to help stop Vecna, or something more advanced than a generator, because, a generator is something you could buy at the store. Do you know what I mean? Or could be brought in from the city. If they're, also you don't need super high voltage. I mean, depending on the type of generator, but like, to me, high voltage handbook, I'm like, to me, it kind of says they're building something bigger, since we know Dustin has, from summer camp, has an inventor background, and Mr. Clark is like a science teacher. He builds models. He's kind of an expert in a lot of those types of things. And also, again, we know that Hopper was in the military, so I'm kind of wondering if it's something along those lines, something more advanced, or something they kind of have to jerry rig that you wouldn't normally need, but they do need because of something they're trying to, help save the world, So that's kind of where I'm leaning. Ashley, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of lean that way as well. I think probably the obvious at this point would be a generator, because that requires high voltage. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like, well, we know the Upside Down and Vecna, there's high amounts of energy down there, and I don't know. I feel like maybe perhaps because it's literally taking over the natural world, maybe it's skewing with the frequencies like electricity and stuff within the Hawkins, and maybe they're building some kind of larger radio tower or some kind of generator or something to keep power going within the town. But I mean, it's some whatever it is, it's a survival tactic or something to use to stop Vecna, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm super interested to see the scene where they're building whatever this is. Because I don't know about you, but I'm picturing kind of like a building montage, like, how we got scenes in like, or season one and season two, when they were trying to create the sensory deprivation bath for Elle, or the whole thing with the magnets, um, or the thing at the mall where they're all kind of like, working together to build something.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always love those scenes, so that's kind of what I'm picturing. Do you want to talk about the stuff we got on Friday the 19th?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest thing we got was we got our first look at Mike Wheeler in season 5, and oh my gosh, I mean, I'm like, this is fantastic because I'm really digging Mike's new look. I really like him with the shorter hair, and it's definitely is a callback to especially seasons 1 and 2 with that. But I'm like, I mean, it looks like him from season 1, except he's now older, and I don't know, it makes him look more mature, and yeah, I really liked it. And I'm like, well, obviously my mind drifts to speculation on why he cut his hair shorter. I mean, it could have been like he's trying to be in solidarity with Eleven, or maybe he cut it because he grew it out because of his admiration of Eddie, and now that Eddie's passed away, he cut it. Yeah, I mean the possibilities are endless. But yeah, I really digging the look for Mike. But like I wonder like whose bedroom is he in? I maybe Dustin's. I feel like this is probably Mike's own bedroom. I know we haven't really spent a whole lot of time in there, but it kind of looks to me like it's Mike's bedroom.
See, I disagree though, because there's clearly a computer behind him, and considering he asked what's the internet and didn't know anything when Susie was there, to the point she's looking at him like he's a complete moron, to me that can't be his bedroom. Because unless, like, do you know what I mean? Like, he seemed to know so little about computers and the internet, that Susie was like reading him for filth, that I'm like, I feel like it can't be his room because there's a computer box. Because
Yeah,
unless that's
and
something else, like,
yeah, and that bit about him not knowing what the internet was, or asking if she could print the stuff out for him. I don't know if it was like they were just trying to be like, having me funny there, or if they forgot. But in season 2, like he knows what basic is. And he's in the
that's
lab with
true.
Bob.
That's true.
So,
Oh
I don't
God,
know. I mean,
season four
again,
had so many logic issues. You know what I'm saying?
I know, I know.
Oh,
I
I'd
mean,
forgotten
again,
that, but you're right.
um, we
Like,
haven't really spent a lot of time in his room, and we've never really seen like,
we've never seen that view. Like, we've seen
um,
towards the
yeah,
bed, but you're
yeah,
right.
or
Um,
yeah. So I mean, yeah,
yeah, I
it's
don't know. Could be a plot hole. Could be Dustin's room. You know.
yeah, and two, like Dustin's room comes at like it's from a different angle in his house. But I mean, it could be his. I don't know. I was just really surprised that we got our first look at one of the main characters other than Steve, Robin, or Dustin, and I feel like the reason that they showed us this was because of the stuff that had been leaked by the paparazzi like 2 days before. And so they're like, well, the cat's kind of out of the bag now, so let's just go ahead and do it. I don't know that for sure, but that's my own theory.
Yeah, I did wonder about that as well. And just trying to figure out whose room this is. I just noticed, like, I'm looking at the photos you're talking, and there's a trophy behind him on the shelf, and I realize it looks very similar, at least from what we can see of it, to the trophy they're all pictured holding in season 1 from the science fair. So I feel like if it's not Mike's room, it has to be somebody else from the party. Like, it can't be Will's, so it's got to be, if it's either Mike's, or it's got to be Dustin's, or it might be Lucas's. Like, I know we saw Lucas looking in the mirror in season 2, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we ever see the rest of Lucas's room, do we?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So I wonder if maybe it's Lucas's, because, like, I don't know, it could be that too. I'm just trying to theorize like whose room this is.
I know, the curious case of the room, a Nancy Wheeler original
Yeah, for
mystery.
real. For real.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, but then we got some stuff from the school, and a locker, like some graffiti.
Yeah, we got some of the locker graffiti, which we actually came back to because originally I was thinking maybe it was Eddie's old locker or it could be Dustin's or Mike's because it's got, Hellfire graffiti on it. And from the snapshot they originally showed us, I thought it was like something that like a bully had done, like the way they did the zombie boy stuff in season 2. But then later on during week 3 of filming, we got some more pictures that showed the inside of this locker and a post asking if people thought it was Mike or Dustin, and showing that the graffiti is actually on the inside of the locker, which seems to imply it was done by one of the party members or somebody else from the Hellfire Club. So originally I was leaning towards it being like either Eddie's old locker or Dustin or Mike's. But after what they showed us, I'm leaning toward it being Mike's, like unless that's a red herring. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they said, put this emoji if you think it's Mike's, this emoji if you think it's Dustin's, but they're not actually confirming if it's either of theirs. Like, we know it has to be somebody in Hellfire, but they're not the only Hellfire Club members, so could be one of theirs, red herring. Although personally, if it is one of theirs, I lean towards Mike's because I feel like Dustin's locker would have way more stuff in it. But that's the other reason I also lean towards it being a red herring, because there was like almost nothing in the second pick we got. Like there's the graffiti, and then there's like a few items in the locker, but there's not much in there. And so, like, to me, it just feels like it's too empty to be a high school freshman's locker. You know what I mean? So I do wonder if that's a bit of a red herring, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it does belong to someone in the Hellfire Club, because I think if it was like graffiti from like a bully or somebody like that, they would have wrote stuff on the outside of the locker instead of the inside. And so I don't know. I mean, I feel like because we know Dustin is still wearing his Hellfire Club shirt, that he's obviously not ashamed of that. And he's proud to be in Hellfire and he still loves the club. Not to say that Mike doesn't, but I'm just saying based off of what we know so far from behind the scenes pics that they have shared, like Dustin still wears his Hellfire Club t-shirt. So I kind of
He's
lean
still
more.
repping the brand. He's still repping the brand.
Yeah, I lean more towards Dustin for that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it could be that we're missing something. Do you mean like maybe it's maybe they're cleaning out their lockers? Like I know when I was in school, there was a day where they would have you like clean out your lockers like ahead of like spring break or something. So maybe maybe they're kind of empty because they had them clean them out before the break, or maybe they're doing like a locker cleanup day because so many students are evacuating, and so like they're consolidating lockers and sections of the school and classrooms, and like if they're taking a portion of it to be used for donations and to help people. Like it could just be something as simple as, okay, well, most of the stuff is missing from the locker because they've had to clean them out temporarily. So like it could just be something simple like that, or it could be like they've taken the photo like as they've put some stuff in there but some stuff is missing because they don't want to show us like everything, because like
Yeah.
So
I mean, I have more thoughts on the school stuff, which we'll get to that later when we talk about the week 3 behind the scenes stuff. But then we got some stuff of Ross Stuffer chilling in the Wheeler's basement, and it kind of made me wonder, like, are they doing this on soundstage? Are they actually in the Wheeler home? Because or maybe like they're doing something with the void, like Eleven's void, and that's something that I sometimes forget, like she has her powers back now, so I'm sure we'll be seeing more of her going into her void and stuff. Because this does not, the picture when I saw did not look like in the actual house, the Wheeler house, because we know they actually film in that house. They don't, unless it's for Eleven's void stuff, they don't do that on a sound stage. So I kind of wonder if it's that, but also like there was some kind of large yellow fluffy thing in there, and we saw
it's across the was the lazy boy, and I'm like, I'm not sure if it's a blanket, but I noticed that. I'm like, it looks like Big Bird's like tail or something. Like there's a big yellow fluffy thing in the corner, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm also like, if you look at the shelves, like someone in the family knits. I'm curious who that is. There's a creepy mask up there. And now that you've said that about the void, I hadn't thought of that, but like I didn't get a clear look at this in season 4, so I don't remember. But there's a bunch of drawings that look like appear to be wills that are taped to the walls behind the couch. And I'd have to go back and watch, but I wonder, like, if you're right about it being the void or this being like a memory or something. I wonder if that's what it is, just because like those appear to be older drawings of Will's from when they were a kid and like they were kids. And I'm like, Will is obviously, you know what I mean? Like he's painting full painting though. Do you know what I mean? Like, unless they've just never been updated. But like, I wonder if, because that kind of looks more like it did in season 1. Like, do you know what I mean? Now that you've said that, I'm kind of like this. This looks a bit more similar to the season 1 Mike Wheeler's basement. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about that. I didn't even notice the yellow fluffy thing or the creepy mask. To be honest with you, and I just kind of noticed how weird it looked and how it didn't look like it was the natural setup of the basement and looked like soundstage stuff. So
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it's 11 is remote viewing to find Mike or somebody
You're right
in
about
the
the floor
basement.
though. Like because now that you've said that, I didn't catch that, but I'm like, now that you've said that, like the table looks too far away, like the table in the foreground. The floor looks like it's coming together in like slatted, like concrete pieces. There seems to be a giant like beam at the top, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't look like the ceiling's too low. Like I think you might be right about this being a recreation on a soundstage for something they're filming, because the rest of the shot doesn't look like the house. It doesn't look like it's a house. It looks like something on a stage. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, or it could be like something of that the Wheeler House and the Upside Down. They just haven't added the vines and stuff to it. I don't know. I just I found that weird the way it was set up and stuff. And then after that, Ross's brother. We got something of him. I guess videoing something or taking a picture, or doing something directional. I would say.
Yeah, they appear to be in a basement, and I thought the shot was very interesting because, everybody had been speculating for the stuff we got before about the Cheez-Its and the poster and everything, that people were like, is it the lab? Is it Murray's place? Is it Robin's basement? What is it? And based on this photo, if that's the same place, which looks like it is, to me, this kind of looks like it's the school basement, like it's kind of the boiler room, or like it's a sub-level room at like the school or somewhere else like that, because you have like old furniture, or maybe it's like a converted club room or something. Like, older schools, you have like, okay, well, there's like a hierarchy in terms of like where the clubs, like who gets the primo spot, right? And if it's a newer club or it has less seniority, it tends to get a crappier spot. So I feel like this photo is very revealing in that it appears that the previous photos were taken in this like school basement, because it's kind of got like a silo structure to the bottom of it, but it's definitely not a silo, because it wouldn't have piping like that. So I felt like this photo was very revealing. I mean, unless they're at the lab, but like I don't know, it's giving school basement to me. Ashley, like, what were your thoughts when you saw this picture?
Well, I was really surprised to see that they showed this much of this location. I mean, it's obviously a new location that we are part of a location that we've never seen before. But I feel like I kind of know they are in this picture, but I don't really want to say that because it was part of something that I accidentally saw scrolling through Twitter. So I'm gonna leave that at that. But in terms of official sources, I would just go with a basement. That's what I'm gonna go.
It is definitely a basement. So I don't think it can be anything other than a basement. So
Now the bigger question is now why are they there?
yes, why are they in the basement? Why are they
Um,
chilling in this basement?
yeah, out of, all the places, is it, for shelter purposes, or hideout purposes? It kind of seems to me like maybe Hopper's cabin is not sufficient, or will not be sufficient enough this season, because we haven't, I mean, we know based on like what Ross Stuffer posted, like what, back in late November, early December, that they were at Hopper's cabin checking things out. So I feel like at some point they're going to film there, but right now they're not. So yeah, it's very interesting stuff. This was
Yeah, and
probably my, oh, sorry, but I was just gonna say, like, finish my statement by saying, like, on the 19th was probably my favorite so far of the stuff that they've posted.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was some of my faves too. And yeah, they definitely are filming at Hopper's cabin, but I'm wondering if it's more of like two things. Like, there were a lot of like when they filmed there in season 3, there were a lot of people stopped into that cabin. And we now know there's gonna be more people. So I wonder if part of it's a space thing where they're gonna try to use the cabin as a home base and someone's gonna make a joke about like, man, there's way too many people in here. This is a fire hazard. Like on top of that, there's like a hole in the roof, like that house needs a lot of structural work. Like they make it pretty clear at the end of season 3 that that thing has been like totaled, and then when we see it in season 4, like it's still totaled. Like it's got structural damage. It needs new windows. The roof needs to be repaired. Like I wonder if it's kind of a, oh yeah, we're working on the cabin, so we're hanging out here for now, or this is just too many people to try and fit into this 2-bedroom hunting cabin. They may need to relocate. So it could just be a practicality thing.
Yeah, I feel like it is. And to that, it's actually, kind of sad if you think about it because this is like the only true home that Eleven has ever had. And for her to be uprooted from it again, that's pretty sad. So
Yeah, it is sad, but I think by the end of the season it'll turn around. I feel like I
yeah,
also feel
yeah,
like they're gonna fix the cabin up, and I mean to me the long term plan there, at least that makes sense to me, is they're gonna fix the cabin up. They're gonna live there. They might have to use something else as a home base, and then like they'll keep it as like a like a summer cabin type thing, and then they'll buy or actually they'll get Owens to buy them like a new house in town that's nice and big and fancy,
yeah,
and make a better life for themselves. Like I feel like Joyce and Hopper are going to be going after Owens for the compensation pretty hard. Like Owens is going to
yeah.
be shelling out the big bucks on that one.
I know, restitution or something like that.
Yeah. And like I wouldn't be surprised if he already has a fund for that, just because he had to know by working with Brenner. He had to know, like, we don't know if he knew, presumably he didn't know the Hopper was alive, but he knew that Joyce definitely was. So he had to know if they ever had to use Nina, that the minute Joyce got back, or the minute they reunited, like he had to know that they were going to come after him for that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Owens already has been like saving up some money. He's been doing some investing, to prepare for that eventuality. It
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me if he's already planned for that. Or I could also see a negotiation of, all right, we're going to get you your old job back. We're going to take out these bad guys, and then you're going to use that money to set everybody here up for life. Like
yeah,
I could also see that happening. And I have to say, one of the things I really enjoyed about seasons 1 and 2 was the whole Hopper and Joyce team up, where like Brenner and Owens and all the other lab people are like trying to pull one over on them or try to be nice to them, and they're just like not having it, and they just like completely like go off on them. I personally very much enjoy that. I think David and Winona's acting in those scenes where there's something about like the controlled anger where they're like,
yeah,
you think I'm stupid? Absolutely not. You think I'm just gonna help you? Go to hell. Like there's something, I think, that they act that so brilliantly. It's what part of the way we fall in love with those characters, and I think it's such a driving force in the first couple seasons. So I'm personally very excited for that. I love those scenes. They're some of my favorites.
same.
Yeah. And then we continue with the massive photo dump. We got a photo of a bicycle at night on the Hawkins High track field. I saw a lot of people commenting that it's very harkening back to like the season 1 vibes, which, I mean, season 1 is personally my favorite season, so I'm very excited about that. And then we got a bumper sticker on what appears to be someone's dashboard saying, "Repent, Halley's Comet is coming, November 1985 to April 1986." Which is funny. It strikes me as the kind of thing that like Robin might have on her car if she owned a car. So I'm interested to know whose car this is. If it's like something funny that Robin found that you put in Steve's car. Although I don't think he'd let somebody put a sticker on his bib. So I'm curious to know whose car are we in here? Because it appears to be like the interior of the car. Like, I don't know if it's a joke or if they've gotten into somebody else's car that's believes that or is deeply religious or something. I do think it's interesting because I know people have talked about there possibly being a time jump. The fact that there's the sticker is here, it seems to indicate that we are still where we were. That, like, we're at the end of March going into the beginning of April of 1986. Because if Halley's Comet has not happened yet, or is about to happen, that puts us basically back where we were. So I find the kind of timeline information there very interesting. Ashley, did you have any kind of reactions to those two photos?
Yeah, I actually had more of a reaction to the photo of the bicycle, and I can't believe there's not, that many people talking about this one. I think maybe perhaps if other stuff hadn't been, posted by unofficial sources at on the same day, maybe more people would talk about it. But I found it very interesting because they're filming it at night, and I'm like, you know, are they going to the school to check on something? Like, what's happening there? And also, I think it's Mike's bike, the one from season 3. It looks like the one he rode to the mall in episode 1 of season 3. So I mean, I'm really curious as to what's going on there in terms of the dashboard. All I could think really what stood out to me about that was how dirty the windshield was of that car. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
definitely.
absolutely filthy, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but absolutely the bicycle one really stood out the most to me.
yeah, now that you've said that, I'm like, this can't be Steve because Steve would never let his car film. Now that you've said that, and it looks like I don't know if that's like a hat or what that is on the dash, but I'm like, yeah, this has to be somebody else's car. So I'm really curious to know whose car this is, and I'm also curious because I don't think we've ever gotten kind of behind the scenes pics in quite this way. If this stuff is going to be prominently featured in these episodes, or if it's going to be the thing where like we're going to finish watching the first few episodes, and when you and I sit down to talk about it, we're going to be like, oh yeah, where the heck was this stuff? Like, it's going to go by so fast in the background, we're not even going to notice. Like, I'm really curious if this stuff is like important or if it's just like blip, there it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's probably just mostly for stuff like this with the bumper sticker. I think a lot of it is mostly background stuff just to get us immersed into we're in the 80s. To help us feel like we've gone back in time to the 80s and stuff. I don't really think anything's going to be zoomed in, and now some of the stuff like the poster, the Pink Floyd poster, I do think has some thematic answers, if you will. I know that's not the correct term, but I do think that stuff is kind of important to give us little clues and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I seriously doubt that they're going to give us a shot of this sticker unless it belongs to one of our characters.
Yeah, I agree. And the only thing I could see it belonging to a character is if it's a joke. Do you know what I mean? Or somebody else
Yeah.
put it there and they're like, I can't, or it's some kind of joke like, yeah, so and so put the sticker there as a joke and I can't get the sticker off. Because we've all had that happen, right? You did something as a joke one time and you can't get it off. Like, my friend put a sticker on their record player like a while back, and they went to move it because they decided they didn't like it there and realized it's just stuck there now. So if this car belongs to a main character, like for example, maybe it's Vicky's car or something. I don't know if Vicky drives, but I could see it being a joke. I can't see it being serious. I can't see any of the characters. If you're willing to wade into the upside down, I don't like. I feel like that clashes with a religious belief that Halley's Comet is coming and you need to repent. Like, I feel like those things are a bit incongruent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that Halley's Comet comes around every 50 years, I mean, that's the only, thing that I could think of that would be like, clue to solving the mystery. Or it's just, maybe a sticker they just like. I don't know. But then we also on the 19th got our first look at 11 from the back. I mean, we know it was, Sam beside Mike, aka Finn Wolfhard, with I believe one of the Duffer brothers in front of them. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it looks like Millie Bobby Brown from the back, but she's wearing a beanie, hat, obviously to conceal her hair, which again, was leaked the same day of this, and which was just very unfortunate for myself personally. But what's done is done, Jasmine. But hopefully I stopped that in time, so that I won't be seeing anything else like that. But yeah, I did want to point out in this picture though of Millie and Finn, and I believe Matt Duffer, who was in front of them. So Matt is wearing a hoodie on the back that says "Hell on Earth," and I think this is the tagline for season 5. I mean, I don't see how it could not be. And so then we also got a video showing that they've finished uh, 10 days of filming by that point. They had a little like little jar that said like days of filming on it. Like that was obviously something that they ordered or someone ordered for them, but they're dropping marbles into it. And it made me think of the movie Oppenheimer, which came out this past summer. And if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to go watch it. It's now available to be streamed. It's really good. It's 3 hours long, so it's lengthy, but it's a good one. Really enjoyed it. But anyway, them doing this reminded me of a scene in Oppenheimer. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it. But when Robert J. Oppenheimer and his team are going through like how many atoms that they're going to need and how much radiation and all that they're going to need to build the first ever atomic bomb. This was the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer drops marbles like each day that they meet into a jar or a bowl, a huge bowl of how much of this the uranium and stuff that they've acquired to build the bomb. And this is what it reminded me of. So I thought, is there a possible nuclear energy connection to all this, like the upside down, or what's fueling Henry as Vecna? I mean, I know that Brenner was utilizing LSD and other drugs like that in his program, but I mean, what if there's a mixture of, nuclear something within that? Because that breaks down cells and stuff and DNA, and it could have been that. I mean, I don't know, but or it could have just been a coincidence, or just maybe they watched the movie and just liked it. What do you think, Jasmine?
Yeah, I think both are a possibility. Yeah, I think both are a possibility, and I do really like the marbles. I have to say, I think that's a cool way of counting how many days of filming. Although I feel like they're eventually going to need more than one bowl or a bigger bowl, because I mean, they're supposed to film for like a year, right? So I feel like they're going to run out of marble space.
I know, and I feel like maybe this was like a gift that someone got them, like maybe some of the crew or something gave them when they started, and they're like, oh, well, we can use this or something, something cute like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, could be either. Or they could do a thing where, they get to like how many marbles you can fit and then they start again, and they count that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, could be that too. And then we got another photo that showed Nancy and Steve's cars plus a military jeep arriving on set on a flatbed truck. So I mean, we knew this anyway, but we know that Nancy and Steve's cars will be on set, and we know there's going to be a military presence. So I think we're going to probably see a lot of pictures like this where like it's stuff that we already know. Like it's not a spoiler because it's like, well, we know that Nancy and Steve drive, and we know that they have cars, and we know we're going to see people in those cars, and we know there's going to be a military presence. So it's telling us stuff that we kind of already knew, but it's also always nice to see the props and the vehicles and that stuff arriving on set. It's always cool to see it. So we got that picture. Did you have any other thoughts on that? Because those were all the thoughts that I had.
No, I didn't really have any thoughts on the cars. I thought it was cool that they were showing us
Mm-hmm.
the cars. Because I mean, there's obviously going to be. I feel like at some point we're going to see it, like we always do. Outside of maybe last season, but definitely in 1, 2, and 3, a team up between the older teens and the younger now teens at some point during the season, and maybe Steve's driving. Robin, Vicky, maybe Jonathan, and Nancy's got Mike, Dustin, Lucas, Elle, and they converge to meet up, or maybe it's because we know they were filming at the school as well. Maybe they going to school or something. That's all I really had about the cars.
Yeah, like I didn't have any deep thoughts, but the school pickup is a good thing because we know that Steve drives Robin to school, so presumably he's not going to drive Vicky as well. It could just be they're doing the pickup, drop off, and just making sure that like everyone's getting there safely, nobody goes anywhere alone. I could see Nancy and Steve maybe teaming up in that way to be like, okay, let's make sure everybody uses the buddy system and nobody goes anywhere alone. And like, did everybody get to school today? Like, I feel like that's going to be of high priority now that they know, like, with what they now know is going on. So I could, I could definitely see that. And you have a good point here that they're going to need to use probably more than one vehicle to transport everybody if they're going somewhere. So, and it makes sense to use their cars to do that. So, yeah, that makes sense. I think. And then for week 3, we got more content. So the first thing that we got on Wednesday, January 24th, was a video of Cara Buono, who plays Karen Wheeler, filming for episode 2. It was through the broadcast channel, and it was sent as like a transmission where she starts talking about, says she's there filming for episode 2, starts talking about what Karen's about to do, and then it cuts out. In the video, she's wearing what appears to be either a 70s style jumpsuit or jacket, and her hair is dirty blonde and wavy, and it's a lot flatter, like it's a flatter, wavier style rather than a perm style that we've seen on last we saw on the show. I want to make it clear, I'm not implying her hair is flat just compared to a perm, because she is gorgeous. But that's what we saw her in. And Ashley and I were debating kind of off camera as to whether or not this was her street clothes or whether she was in costume. And I kind of settled on, this, I guess I think we both kind of came to the conclusion for us that these are her street clothes, as unless they're taking a time jump back to the 70s. Or such a massive time jump has happened that her hair is no longer permed or feeling the effects of a perm. It seems unlikely, and since we know 70s clothes are back in style, here in the present day, we feel like that's more likely. But Ashley, do you have any other thoughts from what we talked about that you want to share?
No, not really. I think you've just said it all there. I'll keep mine short. I think this was before she got into character, so to speak, with hair and makeup. But glad to see the Karen is officially coming back, even though we kind of knew that she was. But I did want to, touch on a little, briefly, because I know like week 3, we didn't get anything until Wednesday from them. And I know people on social media and stuff, they were really starting to freak out because they're like, oh my gosh, I mean, are they taking the week off? I mean, what's going on? I think it's important for us to remember that they're still filming, even though they don't, they may not give us stuff every day of the week, but they're working. They're working hard, and sometimes they may not, feel the urge to post that much. And also, we don't really know when these pictures and stuff that they're posting were taken. I mean, who's to say they weren't all from week 1 and they're just now posting it and stuff? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what their timetable is for a lot, but yeah, I mean, week 3, we only got stuff on Wednesday and Friday. And I think too, it's important to remember that there may be weeks throughout this filming period where we might not get anything for a week. I think it's just one of those things.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I'm definitely not one of those people who panics when we don't get things. But yeah, you're right. Like some stuff they can't show us, or they're just busy filming, or like even for example, stuff we got this week. Like they had to edit the video that Cara Buono did. Like they had to have her film it, and then they had to put the transition part at the end. So somebody had to edit that, right? So that takes time. And then like they did such a massive photo dump on Friday that clearly they had a bunch of content banked. I don't believe I don't think they did that on Friday. Do you know what I mean? Like, for long-term listeners will know that I work in communications and in social media professionally. So you don't, like any big team, you don't, there are times when you definitely just post something if you have the ability or the authority to do so. But for most things, especially something like this, it's timed, it's planned. You think about what you want to do, or they take photos of stuff and they're like, hey, what about this? And then you kind of publish it, on a set schedule, or whenever you talk about it and you decide it's going to work best. So I mean, they could be filming that day, but I kind of doubt it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think these are strategic drops. I think they are. There's a comms plan going on here. I don't think it's just random stuff that somebody got up one morning and decided to do. I mean, there is some element of that. I mean, the Duffer Brothers can't just post stuff when they want to, and I think some of those posts are probably would fall into that category. But there's other stuff like the stuff we got this week. That was definitely planned stuff. Like that was definitely their social team. And their comms team got together and decided on this. So I think that's also important for people to kind of realize and understand that it's not just if they're not, oh my god, they're not posting, they're not filming. It's no, there's a strategy to all of this, and if you want stuff to be successful, there's a whole strategy to how you post and what you do and making it successful. So it doesn't mean they're not filming. It just means that this stuff is there's a strategy to it, is what I'm saying. So all this, don't panic if you don't see anything. That's just the nature of the beast. But I feel like with this stuff, it kind of rains. When it rains, it pours. You know what I mean? We'll get nothing for a few days, and then which I kind of love. I kind of like not knowing, when it's going to happen or what we're going to get. And actually, I was just thinking while you were talking about the comment you made earlier. We were talking about Mike and computers and the whole him knowing basic. That's the scene where I think aren't Hopper and Bob talking? Like Mike recognizes it and he's like, well, can you teach it to me? And he's like, no, I can't teach you basic. It's an entire computer language. That's the scene, isn't it, from season 2, when they're talking about basic at the lab when they're trying to get out, right?
Yeah, so Hopper is, he wants to, do the, open the stuff and can't, not unless you know basic. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And Mike says it's a computer program, like script, basically. And that's when he's like, well, can you teach it me? And that's when Bob says that.
Yeah, so you're right. I wonder if I don't know, I feel like the last stuff they said in season 4 was for comedic value, but didn't really make much sense. Like the whole dinner party scene, or like Mike's behavior in California, like he straight up ignores when Will says things in his presence and then gets mad that he doesn't know what's going on later. Like, I feel like they went with comedic over logical in season 4. So I don't know if they realized that until after the season came out. You know what I mean? Because now that you said that, I'm like, that is kind of a big plot hole, that he knows basic, like he understands computer coding and he recognizes it and he understands computers, but he's claiming not to know what the internet is or that Susie can print something when they get to her house in California. Like, that doesn't really make much sense. Like, and the fact that Will doesn't appear to know what's going on either, like, that doesn't, now that you said that, I'm like, that literally makes no sense. Like, yeah, that's kind of a plot hole.
Yeah, well, I believe it's actually Jonathan that says, what's the internet? It's not. I don't think
Okay,
it
that
was
would make
Mike.
more sense. All I can remember that because the camera focuses on Susie and somebody behind her says, "What's the internet?" So to be fair, like, yeah, okay, that makes more sense if I'm remembering it wrong. Like, okay, that would make more sense. That would make more sense because I thought it was Mike, but if it's Jonathan, that makes more sense because he's just kind of out of it all the time now.
Yeah, and then on Friday the 26th, we got like basically all from the high school. We got some of them were actually little, like, I guess, snippets of stuff they posted like 2 weeks ago in the high school, like one in the locker. But yeah, we got a picture of a door that looks like for the environmental club or maybe a science class or something. And then there was a poster advertising the computer club. There was a one of some old Hawkins High yearbooks from 1966 to 1985. And then there was a Hawkins High spirit poster, more of the locker with the poll question about whose it could be, Mike's or Dustin's. And then what appears to maybe be Lucas's locker or Jock's locker, because they put a poll on that as well. And I personally think it's a Jock's locker because I feel like Lucas maybe doesn't identify with that crowd anymore after what happened in season 4. And there's a picture of a deer in there. I don't really know why
Oh, that's
Lucas
true.
would
I
have
guess there's a
that.
picture of a deer. Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
true.
I feel like it's
I was thinking
Jock's
Lucas because
locker.
I was thinking Lucas because the science textbook that's in there. But you're right
Well,
about
yeah, I mean, science is a required class.
I suppose, yeah. It's
Jasmine.
required reading. But
You
you're right
have
about
to
the
take
deer.
it.
That's true. I thought about the deer though. Yeah, Lucas would not have a picture of a deer in his locker. I feel like that's a red herring because I looked at it and said, "Oh, it's got to be Lucas." But now that you've said that, I'm like, why would he have a picture of a deer? There's Lucas is not a hunter. He does not like guns. He doesn't like he uses a wrist rocket. Do you know what I mean? Like he would not have a picture of a deer. You're right. Oh my god. So that makes me wonder if they're saying Mike or Dustin is a total red herring too, like if it's another member of the Hellfire Club. Because they're not the only members. I wonder if those are both red herrings. That would not surprise me. Now that you've said that, I wonder if they're both red herrings.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, obviously, they're not going to like, show us anything that would give too much away. I mean, they are, I think, being very selective in what they choose to give us. So, I think they're just having a little fun with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's the whole point of this, right? Like good social media and good advertising, good promotion for a season is fun. It makes you talk, it makes you think. It's supposed to be fun. So yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
And some other things I noticed, I was like, yeah, right on. It looks like the environmental club apparently has club priority because they seem to be in like a nice room with a door with stickers. So I'm like,
Yeah.
somebody in that club was on student council because you don't get top billing in terms of where your club meets without it. So like right on. We saw like the computer club posters. I don't know, maybe maybe they're joining. Some of the members are joining the computer club, or like we talked about last time, the radio station theory. So maybe some of them joined the computer club, or they're on the high school radio, the station club, or it could just be that they're using some of these services. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I could see it kind of being like somebody being like, "Hey, we need access to this," and someone's like, "Oh, that we should have that at the school. Let's break in after hours and go use it," as
Hmm.
as they do pretty frequently. Like I feel like that high school is a little bit too easy to break into. I mean, it is the '80s. Granted, it would not. I don't think it'd be
Hmm.
that easy today. But yeah, that's kind of what stood out to me from what we got.
Yeah, yeah, me as well. And that was pretty much it for the first 3 weeks. I'm looking forward to what week 4 will bring, if anything. Of course, make sure you're following us on socials if you're on social media to keep up with that. Or again, we will, periodically be posting little sound bites of, the week of filming with season 5 and just sharing what they posted. But we did have a email from a listener, Marcy, who actually emailed not that long ago to us, but she was kind of following up and just kind of talking about some of the behind the scenes stuff that they've been posting. And her email is quote, have you guys seen the stuff Ross posted today? Our first look at Malevolent, can you believe it? Also, I'd like to say thanks for not sharing leaks and set pics taken by the paparazzi. I'm cool with the behind the scenes goodies coming from Ross and Stranger Things, but I draw the line at the paparazzi. She kind of goes on to say like about fan accounts reposting paparazzi pics and that stuff. Jasmine, do you have any thoughts about the paparazzi stuff? If you, I mean, have you seen any of it, or just what are your thoughts in general about that?
Yeah, I think you and I are pretty much on the same page about this one. And as always, thank you to Marcy for the email. We always love hearing from you guys. So please don't be shy if you have something you'd like to share. We are always happy to hear your thoughts and to share them. But yeah, I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit offline. I'm with you. I agree completely. I've pretty much stopped looking at Twitter at all because of this, and I don't look at our ham radio, like our Instagram, like our feed. I just go on there to post and to look at the official bonus content, the behind the scenes that we're getting, and that's it. Because I have seen a couple of things the paparazzi had clearly taken that I'm like, I didn't need to see that. Like there was one photo of Mike, and there's some people behind him, and I'm like, I did not. That's an actual spoiler. I did not need to see that. I did not want to see that. I want to be surprised, right? And it kind of reminded me, this was an official picture, but there was an official picture we got for season 4 it's the scene where the teens are at the Wheeler house and the cops are questioning them because they want to know where Nancy is. And I remember seeing that picture and being like, oh, God damn it. Like they're going to be Like it looked like it was going to be like a super serious interrogation. Like I just hate that vibe. So this picture kind of gave me the same vibe, even though like that was official. This was a paparazzi. It was kind of gave me that vibe. I'm like I don't want to like all the possibilities I could think of for why those people be in that scene are not. Do you know what I mean? Are not good. Like it's not something I'm going to enjoy watching. In the end, the scene from season 4 turned out to be not that way. Like it turned out like I mean the way the cops behaved was annoying, but like you know what I mean. It turned out not to be like it wasn't what it appeared to be, which was good. And I'm sure this is the same thing too. But you know, I that was the first case where I'm like, okay, I did not want to see that. And then you know, there's been other stuff of what is clearly some drone footage of what appears to be Millie and Finn filming, which I'm like, you know what? I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want to. I if they ever post something officially, I want to see that, but I don't want to see other things. So for my part, I've just stopped looking at Twitter and I don't look at our feed anymore. To be clear, we're still posting and interacting with fans. We're just not looking at like, at least I'm not looking at the feed because there are other fan accounts and podcast accounts that are reposting spoilers and paparazzi pics and videos, which I don't want to see. I want to be surprised. And I know you want to be surprised too. So that's how I feel about it because it should be. It's like them showing some behind the scenes is one thing, but I want to be surprised. You know what I mean? I want to be surprised.
Yeah, me too, especially because it's the final season. I mean, I know I'll be honest with you, like season 4 I did look at paparazzi stuff. I think too because I was so like new to everything and this first time I really paid attention to the marketing stuff and all the filming and all that for season but for season 5 I didn't want to see all that this time around. And I'm usually neutral when it comes to like set, like if a paparazzi takes pictures of a set location, I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, it's still a spoiler, but I mean, it's just a set location. I'm gonna let my theories run wild with me. Not that big a deal, but you know, when you bring in the characters, like you mentioned the one of Mike and some people behind him, I'm like, that is definitely a spoiler for things to come. And I'm like, I really don't want to see it. And then, you know, you get into, like you said, the Mike 11 pictures, definitely a spoiler. And then a video of all things, a video of it as well. And I didn't even mean to see the video. Again, it popped up on my feed on my personal Instagram. And I'm like, that's when I was like, I have to mute some accounts that, are sharing this stuff. I can't, and I have to stay off Twitter. I can't do this. I don't want to see it because I remember scrolling through Twitter that day that video was posted and still now, last time I checked, people were still going crazy with trying to figure out what it is that Mike is saying in this video. And it's like, you're probably not going to be able to figure it out. So, like just calm down. And also, like when you do those things, you set yourself up for disappointment when the scene will be in front of your eyes on the TV and it's nothing that you thought it was going to be, and two, to follow that up, which even Brendan, who he loves leaks, he loves spoilers, but even he, after he saw this, had to kind of draw the line and was talking about how egregious it was. In that same video, there's like more of that, and it's Millie Bobby Brown like wiping her eyes, and Brendan was like, you believe like people think that this is part of that scene they were filming, and he's like, you can definitely see like the cameras aren't rolling, and he was talking about like that day when that was filmed, he said, I heard it was really cold in Georgia that day. And I said, yeah, it was really cold and windy because we had just had a crazy storm come through the state. Like crazy weather that week that overtook the whole state. And I was like, I mean, her eyes probably just got irritated from the cold wind, and being out there for, however long she was. I'm like, it's not a breakup scene or anything like that. You know what I mean? Just crazy things like that. And I personally, I don't want to see that,
Yeah, like I'm with you there. And also like, knowing that it's like, yeah, your eyes get cold if you live in a place that gets cold weather. It's very cold and snowy in Ottawa right now. Yeah, your eyes are gonna tear up. Like they were, your eyes are gonna get tear up, they're gonna get irritated. And when you said that, like before you started talking about the weather, my first thought was, oh, like it's probably emotional for them because this is the last time they're doing this. It doesn't mean that that's what their character is doing. I mean, if it was cold that day, then yeah, that's definitely what it is. But there could also be scenes later on as they film or just stuff that's, emotional for them as as people that people are gonna tear up. They're gonna have a human reaction because they're human. And this is a cast that's very close to one another. Many of them are very close friends in real life. And I mean, like you said, like, weather is a factor, that's going to affect if you wind up tearing up, how your face looks, if you're cold, you know what I mean, if you're too hot, all that, it's going to affect you. And something else that struck me about this season is, knowing what we know going into it, there's definitely going to be scenes, about Will's coming out and that whole storyline, which I'm sure will be very emotional for Noah and, all the other cast members he's so close to. Based on where they decide to go with where they left off with the basketball team and Lucas, there could be, and what happened to him and Erica, like there could potentially be things about race that come up. Like that stuff's going to be very emotional for them to film. And also, this is the last time they're doing this. So I think the other issue with paparazzi pics is people could read into things and it's got nothing to do with their characters. It's like, it was windy that day. They were cold. Or maybe it's something that hits them emotionally as a person because of who, like for many of these actors, it's not just something they're playing. This is a part of their real life and their real identity. And for other actors, it's not. So that stuff is always going to be emotional and they're professionals, but like they're also human beings. And so I think a lot of times people read a lot into things. And I think we got to remember that, they're not automatons, they're people and they're filming in many cases outside in the weather. So those are always going to be factors. And I think that people kind of read too much into it. And like, I don't want to be spoiled. I want to be surprised. I know you do too. So I'm in total agreement with you on.
Yeah, and again, because there's little tidbits I've already been spoiled by, and mainly the Mike and 11 thing, which sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. But they still have a long way to go in filming, so I mean, there's plenty of things I can still shield my mind from. But guys, like all we're saying is just be careful what you pay attention to or what you see on social media or the internet, because it might not really be really what you want to see, or maybe it might be too more than what you wanted to see, and sometimes it's egregious and kind of ridiculous. And if you can very quickly get that stuff into your head, and it gets you going all directions and you start to believe it, and then by the time the season comes out and you watch it and you're going, wait, that is nothing like what such and such set pick or leak indicated. Like an example, I remember season 4 there was a confirmed leak. It was fake, but apparently this person who had the inside scoop on season 4 said that there was gonna be Mike and 11 sex scene in season 4. Very ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, just be careful what you see on the internet, what you pay attention to on the internet or social media. That's why we don't want, from our accounts, ham radio, that's why we're not posting that kind of stuff, because we don't. I mean, we understand, like, maybe we're not going to get 10,000 likes or followers if we don't stir the pot, but I mean, that's okay with us, because we know that not everyone is into all that and is like us and wants to savor this last filming of Stranger Things, and we're going to respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, there's definitely stuff that that people said was going to happen in season 4 that didn't wind up happening, or there was red herrings, right? Like that, where we were intentionally misled just to keep stuff a secret, or it was thought to be something and it's like, oh no, it's this other thing. Or like the leagues that you and I actually saw, that one where there's people walking behind Mike, it looks like it could be a big deal. It could literally be he's just walking to class and they happen to be behind. You know what I mean? Like it could be nothing, right? Or like, you know what I mean? Or whatever 11 was filming. It could be nothing. Do you know what I mean? It could be nothing. It could be inconsequential.
Exactly. It could just be they're walking to their places on set. I couldn't really tell if the cameras were actually rolling or not, but we're gonna find out.
Yes, we are indeed going to find out. And I guess the whole point is that we don't know what we don't know, right? It's until it comes out, we don't know what it's going to look like. We have we know some stuff to be true, and we know the general vibe, it seems. And we know some stuff, but we don't know. And I think it's good to keep it that way, you know? I like to be surprised, and we know a lot of you guys, our listeners and our fans, feel the same way we do. And you know, the reality is, if you want to look up that stuff, if you want to see it, it's out there. You can go look at it. But we're gonna, you know, that's a boundary we've set, and we're gonna respect that for other people as well.
Absolutely. So Jasmine, do you have anything else that you want to share with the people? Anything like that?
I think just kind of my final thoughts on the stuff we got on Friday was I am constantly amazed in the best way at the level of detail that the crew puts in. You know, the props, the set design, the hair, the makeup, the costuming. Like for this show is just next level. It's so well done. Somebody commented in our Discord server that, you know, the photos of the Hawkins High yearbooks. Or most likely just set dressing. Like they could be something that, you know, the gang is using to solve a mystery or something, but there's a good chance too that it's just set dressing in the background. And the fact that there's like that level of detail is incredible. And that's something that, you know, from season one has always stood out to me, that I feel like since Stranger Things, you know, blew up as a show, there's so many copycat things that are like Stranger Things. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
great. Like I think, you know, setting things in the 80s and using that as a backdrop, and more things like Stranger Things is great. But you know, there's a quality to the level of time and effort you can tell, and the care that the crew puts in, for what's created, to make it feel lived in, that I just love. You know, like looking at every scene, like visually, is so beautiful and so interesting, and you could pause and stare at these stuff forever, you know. Like take away the special effects and it's still so beautiful and so interesting to look at. And I love that the sets feel lived in. Like there was a post I saw a while back about how it was talking about the Scream movies and the clutter budget, and if you look at the original Scream movies, the houses look like people live there, and you look at the newer ones and it's like no one lives in that house. There's a giant bowl of lemons on the counter and it looks like a mausoleum. And I love that from the beginning, like even though they didn't have, like their budget was smaller back then, they didn't think it would last more than a season, they still took the time to make these spaces look lived in and real. You know, like the Byers house looks like a place people actually live. The Wheeler's basement looks like a place people live. It looks like a high school. It looks like a middle school. Like these feel lived in. And I think that just contributes so much to just the viewing experience. And something I really love is that, I think it was Natalia Dyer who said this, but she was being interviewed about season 4, I think, and she said that something that the crew does is, following season 1, they update their bedrooms. And so when you get back on set, instead of just being walking in and telling you what's going on, they let the actors go in there. Like she gets to come back to Nancy's room and look through things and flip through stuff and see what she's been up to
Mm-hmm.
since she last played the character. So they get to kind of discover and explore that, you know, like as they get in, that helps them get into character to be like, what has she been up to? And I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like that adds
They're
like a realness.
exactly. I mean, their attention to detail is impeccable. And yeah, I mean, I know the Duffer Brothers have said like they've always, they always want this show to be as realistic as they can possibly get it, and I mean they do that. The town of Hawkins feels like a real small town in a rural community out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it really does. Just by the looks of it, and the way the people interact and all that, even down to the school, and all that. And to me, I mean, I think it is because, these are supposed to be little, 8-hour movies, and you can definitely tell like this is filmmaking. And I encourage anyone out there who, if you have the means to do it, go sign up for the master class that the Duffers did. Now that's mostly discussing like writing and how to write a script and come up with, ideas for a show, and with a pilot and stuff. But it's really is cool to get inside their heads of how they do things with the show. Hopefully one day they'll do one on directing. I think that would be really cool, because I think the Duffers are awesome directors. And maybe the cinematographer and editor as well, and get on there and talk about how they work their magic. But yeah, I mean, it's the quality of Stranger Things, even back in seasons 1 and 2, when the budget wasn't as nearly big as it is now. just the quality is just, in my opinion, I have not seen another television series that's out there currently that has even come close to that, except maybe The Boys. But yeah, I mean, it truly is a pop cultural phenomenon, an icon. And I mean, it's going to be missed. I really do think, because I think people out there will try to emulate it. But I don't think they'll ever be able to make a carbon copy of Stranger Things as good as it is.
I definitely agree with that. I think even if these same people went on to do something else, I think it's kind of lightning in a bottle. It's that
Yeah,
magic. That's They're just captured something there. And I just really love that. I feel like it's a show that really does treat what the crew does as an art form onto itself. And I feel like a lot of shows don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? It's all about the actors, it's all about the writers, it's all about the show writers. And of course, like, we don't know what the dynamic is, but it seems to me anyway that this is a show that, deeply appreciates, those in charge deeply appreciate all of the effort the crew puts in to make it look so realistic and to give them options, and to, so many of the wonderful things like the costuming or the hair of the characters, or just the vibe of, certain places in Hawkins is from, things that people on the crew came up with either as a joke or they thought it looked cool, and them showing them those options and be like, oh, this is great, we love this looks wonderful on camera. That treats it as, this stuff is art, it is a form of art. And I think it's a show that really appreciates that and treats it with the level of respect it deserves. Because you can definitely, at least for me, I can definitely tell the more media I watch, shows that don't do that, don't take that time and care, or don't treat those things as the art that they truly are. That this show takes so much level of care with that. And I think that also contributes, as the show's gone on, it takes more and more time to film and produce. And yes, I would love it sooner too. But I also appreciate that, like, I would much rather see a show where, everyone is paid their due and people are treated with respect, and, everyone's got the time they needed to, do what they do best and make it look as good as it possibly can. If that means we don't get the season as soon as we would all like, I would much prefer that. I think the final
yeah,
product is much better. And this is a show that I think really shows that respect to everybody, from like the crew to the art people to, down to the actors. And you can definitely see it in the final product. And it really is lightning in a bottle. I'm sure there'll be other great shows, but I don't know if anything, I feel like this is kind of like a once in a, not a lifetime, but kind of in a, you only have so many things that kind of capture lightning in magic in this way.
exactly. I mean, to me, the way I kind of describe Stranger Things to people is it's just a master class in storytelling, directing, cinematography, filming, and set design and special effects. The biggest ones being the first three. And I don't. I think it's a generational type show. I mean, it's a once in a generation type show, and I don't think we'll see anything of the likes of it in the near future after it's over, which it's kind of sad. But I mean, again, we understand it. Like, I was talking with Brendan's wife the other day, and she's like, I told, like, Brendan, we talk all the time and about it, and she's like, sometimes I wish this show could, I feel like I wish it could just go on forever, and maybe they not do stuff all the time with the Upside Down, and just have like little weekly episodes of seeing what they're doing this week, and the lives of these characters. And he's like, yeah, but if they did that, it would become The Walking Dead eventually, and all the main cast would eventually leave like they did. Because I know, like, if I know that if they were going to have a season six, like, I think they would kill 11 off, because I don't think Millie Bobby Brown would want to come back for a sixth season, unless they were just like something within her contract said that you have to, be here until the end of the series. But yeah, it's all this stuff is fun looking at the filming, but at the same time, it's bittersweet. It's a little emotional to think about getting into the end, but it's exciting at the same time. But that's all I have for this episode. As always, follow us on social medias to keep up with filming updates and everything up with our show. If you're not on social media, we'll try to have those sound bites out for you guys so you can hear them for yourself right here on the Ham Radio. So with that, we're gonna send you guys out, and we'll see you next time.
See you all next time. And that's our show. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe and tell your friends. Our theme music is provided by Neon Knights, and our sound editing is provided by Ashton Cooper. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ham Radio, a Stranger Things podcast. Please join us next time, same dial, same time.
Over and out.